The name's Yukon Cornelius, the greatest prospector in the North!
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Oh, and I am Dan Simon, broadcasting from the Studio Simon Stumper headquarters in hot and steamy Louisville, Kentucky.
Dan, we're a well-oiled machine here on Baseball by Design. We got this absolutely down pat. Hey, today we're going to be talking about I think it's fair to describe this team as little known. It is a new team in the Front Range League, which is a new collegiate summer baseball league. We talked about the Boulder 64s in a previous episode. Way back, we talked about the Fort Collins Foxes, also members of this baseball league. In fact, recently crowned champions of the Front Range Baseball League. The NoCo Prospectors are sort of a unique team. They also play here in Fort Collins, Colorado. They have some fun branding things going on. We're going to talk later on in this episode with Matt West, who created their logo. We're going to be talking with Preston Munch and Rochelle Reynolds, who have been on previous episodes of this podcast as well. I'm getting way ahead of myself, Dan. Good morning. Hello. How are you?
Well, good morning to you. I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. The baseball season, we're getting sort of late in the baseball season. People are starting to think about magic numbers and playoff positioning. And at the time this episode's going to drop, it'll be September. So it is late in the baseball season. A lot of minor leagues are starting to wrap up, including the collegiate summer level leagues. And we've covered some collegiate summer level teams recently on the podcast. We did the Keene Swamp Bats not too long ago. And as I mentioned, the Boulder 64s. So collegiate summer baseball is a lot of fun. There are a ton of leagues out there, Dan. And you mentioned to me that you were not familiar with this team when I first sent it to you. And I said, okay, start thinking about a stumper. So there's a seemingly limitless supply of collegiate summer level baseball out there. And this NoCo Prospectors is one, I'm guessing, that people aren't really super familiar with. NoCo, by the way, is shorthand here in northern Colorado for Northern Colorado. I'm guessing most people guessed that.
Well, and it was also the geographic designator for the former NoCo Owls with a Z.
They did use that for shorthand. I think officially they were the Northern Colorado Owls with a Z.
Maybe, but I can tell you because I had to do that brand update for them when they moved from Orem to Fort Collins. The logo, the primary logo says NoCo. It does not say Northern California. I'm sorry, Northern Colorado. And on the jersey, or I guess the road jersey, it said NoCo as well. So, but
good use of the past tense by you there. Those NoCo Owls with a Z are no more. They were taken over by the Pioneer League and now are playing in Colorado Springs. And they are they are the rebirth of the Colorado Springs Sky Sox. For now, we'll see what happens to that franchise. I've told you my theory about why they moved them to Colorado Springs and called them the Sky Sox. Have I told you this?
Not sure.
The Rocky Mountain Vibes, who play in Colorado Springs, played Friday games as the Colorado Springs Sky Sox. And my theory is because those uniforms existed and they needed to do a quick identity change in the middle of a season, because that team sort of went away. It was a slow, painful death for the team, but the decision to remove them and rebrand them happened sort of quickly. My theory is that they, because those uniforms existed with the Rocky Mountain Vibes, that they just said, hey, can we borrow those uniforms and play as the Sky Sox for the rest of the season? That's my theory.
Your theory is certainly plausible. It makes a lot of sense. And I wonder if we'll ever find out.
I don't know, Dan. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the Owls with a Z. We're not here to talk about the Sky Sox. We're here to talk about the Prospectors. And like I said, we're going to talk to Preston and Rochelle. We're going to talk to Matt West. And then you're going to be back with a Studio Simon Stumper.
Yep, go talk to them, and I'll be back shortly.
All right, see you in a minute, Dan. Welcome back to the Baseball by Design podcast for the third time now. Preston Munch and Rochelle Reynolds. Preston is the owner of the brand new NoCo Prospectors. Rochelle is the general manager of the team. You may remember Preston and Rochelle from previous episodes of Baseball by Design. First on the Fort Collins Foxes, and then on the Boulder 64s just recently. Preston and Rochelle, welcome back.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks for having us back.
This NoCo Prospectors team is a lot of fun, conjured out of thin air. That's a brand new team in the Front Range League. It's a collegiate summer level baseball league. You already own two teams. You own and manage two teams in the Front Range League. What compelled you to bring a third team under your leadership into this league?
Well, it's not sure Paul's the smartest right decision because we're just running from field to field. But now that we've seen NoCo play and see what the coaching staff and those kids what they're putting on the field, I'm so happy we did it. And so when we had the idea and concept, like Boulder, Rochelle was the first person I went to and said, "Okay, I got another idea. Are you on board?" Because I'm not going to do it unless she's on board. And she was right on board. And so they're an exciting team. They're a fun team. They're a young team, Paul. But I tell you, if anyone gets a chance to see them, they're going to love the energy and effort these young men put on the field.
It's actually, you said it was a young team. How young are the youngest players on these teams?
Yeah, great question. And so the concept behind Prospector is a little different than Foxes and 64s. And the concept is basically taking kids that are graduating seniors going into freshman college baseball, or maybe redshirted their freshman year of baseball, and need a place to get ABs. Because a lot of these kids as seniors in high school going off to college, not a lot of great options during summer ball. And so the idea came together with myself and our head coach, Chris Namichu, who's like, hey, there's a need here. And so this team, unlike Boulder and like Fort Collins, is 100% NoCo kids. All these kids have a home they're living in. Boulder and Fort Collins, they have host families spread out all through the Front Range. These kids go home at night. And so it's a totally different concept.
So we're young and hip and we're up on all the lingo, but for any listener who is maybe not up on the lingo, what is NoCo?
Northern Colorado. So we are players from all different areas of Northern Colorado.
So the team is called the NoCo Prospectors, and I believe in a previous episode I called them the Northern Colorado Prospectors, and that's not right. They're not the Northern Colorado Prospectors. They are the NoCo Prospectors. Where does the name Prospectors come from? What does that mean?
It was, again, it's an idea of these being young players, right? And really almost like prospects, right? Because some of these kids are still looking for that college opportunity. So they're using this summer to play in front of college coaches. So really under that name prospects, right? And then of course we live right here in the foothills and the history of mining just made sense to kind of combine those two ideas to come up with the name of Prospectors.
I said that it was sort of that we are young hip people, and one of the things that feels sort of hip about this brand is that there is no character, right? Like there is no cartoon prospector with a pickaxe and a big beard or whatever. It is all type-based. Preston, you're wearing the hat right now. It's an audio podcast, so nobody knows that you're wearing the hat right now. But believe me, you're wearing the hat right now, and it's a couple of semicircles turned two different ways to represent N and C for No and Co. From a marketing perspective, from a branding perspective, it seems like it would have been really easy to do a cartoon character, and you went instead with something type-based. What was the thinking there?
Well, funny you should ask, because we actually started with that cartoon minor type look. And as we started getting rolling with some of the design options, we were starting to gravitate a little bit more towards that typeface design. Part of our branding, although most of it is lettering, we do have the lantern. So the lantern is part of our branding as well. So we were able to pull in that prospector, that feel a little bit more, but we went more with the lantern versus a cartoon character.
And then the yellow and green feels very Colorado-y to me. What's the significance of the yellow and green?
Well,
You want to know the truth?
Yeah.
That's why we're here. Well, I can
Uh,
handle the truth.
so I grew up in Northern California.
Okay.
I spent my entire childhood at Oakland A's games.
Uh,
When we started looking at color options, for whatever reason, green just stuck out to me. So then when we were talking to the designer, he said, and this is before he even knew where I was from, he said, "Hey, are you kind of thinking like Oakland A's colors?" And I said, "That's exactly what I'm thinking." And so it tied really well together. We had that green and the gold, and then the gold ties nicely with the gold prospector light feel.
First of all, I love that the color combination comes from, that rooting interest of yours, and from your youth. The Philadelphia Flyers, I'm from the Philadelphia area. The reason the Philadelphia Flyers are orange is because their president or owner, founder went to the University of Texas and wanted something that evoked the University of Texas. So sometimes these color choices, they come from somewhere inside and then they have a lasting impact. Rochelle, I want you to know that I was invited several times to go see the A's play in Sacramento, and I said no, I'm not going. I'm not going to support John Fisher. So
Well,
solidarity with all the Oakland fans out there.
well, and I think too, Paul, when Rochelle came to me with that idea, I loved it because my father is a huge baseball fan, and my parents grew up as Oakland A's fans, the early '70s teams, right? The Reggie Jackson, the Sal Bandos, the Gene Tennis, right? That's where he grew up, and that was my first exposure to baseball, as they were A's fans. So it made a lot of sense. And then my parents, I grew up in Dodge City and was very young. They were season ticket holders to the Dodge City A's, who had the same look and name. So it really, really just came together very nicely, and it fit from both sides of us.
So the I like that. I'm looking. I'm on your just I'm noodling around on the website and on the social media accounts, and one of the nicknames is the Specters. You shortened Prospectors to Specters, which sounds like you could have a great ghost character in there as well. Has that ever come up in conversations?
I don't think Ghost has come up, but Paul, now it will come up. Because I don't think we've mentioned that, have we, Rochelle? Anything like
No, we haven't. But I think we left the door open if we ever want a mascot for the prospectors.
Now, the Prospectors share a home field with the Fort Collins Foxes, right? They play at City Park here in Fort Collins. How's that going? How does that work?
It's going really well. It's a beautiful field. As you know, you've spent a lot of time there.
Sure have.
Fort Collins has been a wonderful city to work with, and they've been able to help us get the field for both teams. Some of the times when we have home games on the same day for both Foxes and the Prospectors, we actually share the field that day.
Hmm.
So one of them will play earlier and one of them will play later. But that just gives opportunities for folks here in Fort Collins to come to watch some really great baseball.
I think that's what I meant by that question. How is that going? There's a full 25%, a full quarter of the 8 teams in the Front Range League have City Park as their home ball field, and I've said on previous episodes what a great environment it is there, how much fun it is. I know that you've got food trucks, steamy wieners, steamed wieners, something like that. They show up selling hot dogs. And then you have obviously the Walrus ice cream, new ice cream helmets for the Foxes this year. I was very excited to see that last night. Are there Prospectors ice cream helmets? Does Walrus bring out Prospectors ice cream helmets for those home games?
Not yet, but that is the next evolution. And so really what the concept is with all these teams, and they all fall under one group that we call Mesa Sports Group. And what our concept is Foxes was kind of our first team and really kind of lays the land and sets the foundation. And so we'll follow that same footprint. So Boulder is going to start seeing what we have done this past year for the Foxes. And we'll do that with the Prospectors as well. So that's kind of the blueprint because you can't be everything to everybody. So do things well in one area. And so Foxes allows us to kind of trial and error. And every year we're getting better and better on what works. And so we'll do that with the prospectors as well.
How important is branding when you're recruiting players to play on these teams? The Foxes have a a sort of trendy color palette with like the sort of teal and orange. We talked about the Boulder 64s, and they have that, that history that's rooted in their tradition there. And then, for these younger players on the Prospectors, this hip typography, in their Oakland A's green and gold. Does that affect the players one way or the other? Do they care which uniform they're wearing when they're looking at where they're going to play?
So we did do a lot of market research with kids in high school, kids in college. Unfortunately, I'm not at that age group anymore, so my hip factor is a little different than theirs is. But we did do a lot of research, and it's funny, the responses that we got, the majority of them were navigating towards the prospectors look.
Hmm.
So the new, fresh, hip look really spoke with our prospectors branding. And the kids were excited. They said, I would love to wear this. I want to get one of these jerseys now. And they weren't even on the team.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that, especially for, like a younger player. I mentioned Ranger Amy, who sings the national anthem for you all every once in a while. We were out beyond the outfield wall watching a game recently, and there were we had a puppy with us, and there were a couple of young women, like high school students out there who came over to pet the puppy, and we were talking to them about the game, and one of them said, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend's on the team." And I was just like, "Oh man," I felt really old. I was like, "Oh no," but it was, you could see how young the players were. Is it really is those prospectors, being essentially high school students, and so I would imagine the fashion choices there, matter for sure. One of the questions I've wanted to ask you about all of the brands that you have, you're not buying into the trend that you see in minor league baseball or collegiate summer level baseball with the truly outrageous brands, or the like just wacky to just the sort of war of escalation of wacky logos or outrageous logos, or even now like an increasing number of like off color logos, some that with these like double entendres out there. Does that ever come up in your conversations about marketing and branding these teams?
Yes, you're seeing that, right? And you're
Yeah.
seeing teams now doing like off-brand names, right? You're
Right.
seeing that in the minor league, right? And
Yeah.
so that's an area that I don't see us venturing into. We got into the City Connect, which allows to still have a connection to the brand, but have a little bit of fun with it, but still stay on point with the brand. And so I think that's our approach to it. And summer ball, minor league baseball is a chance to have fun and have fun with some of the things you do. But I think also you still need to stay in somewhat in a lane, and maybe you can get on the shoulder a little bit, right? But really stay in the lane. So
Yeah, I agree. When we have these branding discussions, we have no intention of rebranding these teams every 2 or 3 years, right? So while it does feel trendy, I think we tried really hard to stick with colors and stick with a look that can last quite a while.
I guess then the only way for you to expand is to buy more teams. This Front Range League, as we've talked about, is 8 teams right now. You've tripled the number of teams that you own and manage here now. So are there any plans in the future to get into some more teams in the Front Range League?
I don't think I can. My wife may kill me and Rochelle may kill me. So right now it feels really good and where we're at. But at the same time, again, we created Mesa Sports Group as an organization, and I see us expanding into other areas. I can see us expanding into other sports, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be baseball. You look at the women's sports landscape, that's really taken off. So if we were to expand, I actually would look more into the women's side of sports than baseball, because I feel really good on where we're at right now. But right now, Paul, I want to say no more expansion, but that may change 8 months from now. Rochelle knows me well too. She knows me too well that I may do something else, but we'll see. Right now, I'm really happy with where we're at.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun league, and it's I hope folks get the chance to come out and see the Foxes or the Prospectors or the 64s down in Boulder. We were talking off air about the sort of unique connection between Grand Junction and this Prospectors team. Can you explain, Preston, what that connection is?
Yeah, and I think when we were talking about the concept of the prospectors, one of the things that was really important is these are young kids, right? 18, 19-year-old kids, is you had to have a leader, a mentor that can lead these kids. And we're very fortunate that the head coach for the Prospectors is Chris Namaju. And really the idea came between Chris and I sitting around and drinking coffee. And this thing kind of, no pun intended, brewed. And so Chris is a guy that for the last 2 years was the head coach of the Grand Junction Jackalopes, right? Tremendous experience. He spent 13 years in Major League Baseball, got all the way to AAA baseball. He was a Major League scout for the Phillies and the Braves. He did that for over 12 years. So this guy has tremendous experience. And I could tell you, Paul, I went to the first practice and we call him Nobby. Nobby's got all these kids together and he starts talking about his experience. And he didn't do it to brag. He let them know, I've been here, I've done it, and I know what colleges are looking for. And these kids were like, I mean, you should have seen their eyes. They were just totally bought into what he is doing. And he has been just a tremendous coach and mentor for these guys. And they may be younger. Maybe they don't have as much talent as some of these teams. But man, with their coaching and their heart, they really make up a big gap. And they are so fun to watch and to support.
So the younger players, the uniquely Northern Colorado players who are on this NoCo Prospectors team, how are they doing so far this season? How are they holding up against the older players, from all around the country?
They're doing great. They just finished a series up in Western Nebraska, and they lost the first game of the series in 11 innings. They were up 10-9, and they were down to their last out to get the victory and gave up a 2-out base hit to left field that brought in two. And you could see it watching. I was watching online, and the kids, one kid threw his glove down, another kid went down to his knees. I mean, these kids are laying it on the line. And so they're doing great.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some games they may not do as well because one of the things that's important, Paul, in summer baseball that people may not understand is we want these kids to play. They come out here to play. It's different than the college season. During the college season, a pitcher goes on the bump, and if he walks one or two guys, he's yanked. It's different in summer baseball, and it's different with our teams. We're going to give the kids an opportunity. So we may play a kid or pitch a kid that maybe didn't get a lot of playing time last year, but he's here to get that playing time. And so you may have some ups and downs with the season, but love their heart. And again, great coach in Nobby and the mentorship that he brings to that team.
With us having 3 teams, we are able to sit on the sidelines and watch as they get together, they learn each other's first names, and they start bonding. The Prospectors were immediate, and it was so fun to watch their ability to bond with each other, trust each other, and really support each other. They did it before the other 2 teams, and I'm just so proud of them and their grit and their desire to just keep improving and keep fighting.
Well, it's really the coolest, and like I said, being at the ballpark, that you can tell that the fans are into it too, right? Like the fans, the Foxes were gone for a year, and you all brought them back with a new brand and under new ownership, and have reestablished baseball now here in Fort Collins, and so that's been, as a baseball fan in Fort Collins, I appreciate that so much, and we probably get to 10 or 12 games a year, and it's always over way too early, right? Like it's July and the kids are off to college, and it's like, wait a minute, no, I wasn't ready for the Foxes season to be over yet. So this Front Range League is really a ton of fun, and I know that a lot of my listeners are in this area, right? Because if you look at the map of minor league baseball, without collegiate summer level baseball, there's not a ton out here in this mountain time zone, and so you add in that Front Range League, and all of a sudden there's all sorts of opportunities for great fun baseball. So where can people find the Prospectors online and on the socials?
So the website for Prospectors is nocoprospectors.com. And the social links are also on the website, so you are able to jump on there, and we've got a very active social media presence. So there'll be fans will be able to keep on track and on tabs with what we've got going on.
All right, Rochelle, Preston, thank you again, and we'll see you at the ballpark.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, welcome back to City Park in Fort Collins, Colorado. Fort Collins, Colorado is the home of the NoCo Prospectors. I am with Matt West, who is the designer of the NoCo Prospectors logo and brand, and also dad of one of the Fort Collins Foxes who are on the field right now. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. How's your son Phoenix doing out there tonight?
He's just up to bat for the first time. We'll see. He had a nice play in the field earlier, and we'll hope that he hits a home run right now.
Phoenix West is batting right now. This is Jermaine actually to the. Oh,
He
you got a hold of
just
that
went
one.
Yard.
Wow.
That's good timing.
There you go. How about that? We just documented Phoenix West's home run. How many is that for the season, Fred? You know?
I think that's 4.
Wow. He got a hold of that one. I mean, that
was
one.
a good one.
That one landed in the golf course next to the park here. So, well, congratulations on that there, Dad.
Thanks.
That's fun. That was, man, he got a hold of that one. All right. 2-1 Foxes on top now. Phoenix is celebrating with his teammates. Now, we're not talking about the Foxes, though. We are talking about the NoCo Prospectors. As Rochelle and Preston were discussing on the previous segment here, the Prospectors are a team. The name comes from the fact that they are prospects. They are largely younger players, all from northern Colorado. How did the fact that you're dealing with younger players than these other collegiate summer level teams, how did that factor into the work that you did on this brand?
In all honesty, I don't know if it did.
Okay.
Other than just the idea, especially at the beginning stages when the team was coming together, it was very clear that these are the early college kids, and so these are prospects that we're looking at. And so obviously the word prospectors and the name prospectors went into everything that I did in terms of researching their design.
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked the question because I feel like the typography in this brand, if you not just compared to other teams that you've worked on, but other teams in this league, that the typography is a little sort of hipper, younger feeling. And I wasn't sure if that was your intention there, especially the font that you used for NoCo.
Nope, I guess that was a happy accident.
Well, again, we talked about this a little bit with the Boulder 64s a few episodes ago, but this team is a typographic-based brand. There is no character. Talking with Rochelle and Preston, it would have been real easy to do like a grizzled old prospector character.
Yep.
What was your thinking in not doing that and going more with sort of a slick typography?
So anybody that knows anything about Denver sports knows that we have the Nuggets, and it would have been, I think, a little bit too easy for me to come up with a little short mining character guy that shadowed the Nuggets just a little bit too much, and so I moved away from that, and then once I got away from that general concept, I wasn't left with a whole lot in terms of characters.
Yeah.
So the thing that stemmed from that was, well, what can I do with that little guy? And the helmet was a thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so the helmet a lot of times on a classic miner is going to have a headlamp on it. And so I fiddled around a lot with ideas of making it so the embroidered logo on the hat would actually look like there was a lamp like protruding from the hat. In the end, I ditched that idea and just went to something a little more, a little less goofy, let's say. I still kind of think it would have been an interesting thing to see how it plays out there.
Yeah.
In any case, I don't know if I'm answering the question.
I think you are, absolutely. You were handed colors. I asked Rochelle and Preston where the colors came from. As a designer, do you welcome that sort of constraint, or do you prefer the freedom to explore?
I absolutely love that constraint. Obviously, too many constraints gets a little out of hand, but for the most part, I would prefer to be given a pretty tight palette, especially in terms of colors, because colors, it could be anything. They're millions, right? And so it's a lot easier for me to just say, you give me this boundary, and I'll work within that. And in fact, when I'm designing logos, I think it's fairly standard, but a lot of people don't understand that it's really best for me to start in black and white, or in this case, I knew I was eventually going to go to yellow or to gold and green. But I like basic, simple, and that gives me parameters to work with. So.
When you start, you say you start, often working in black and white and then go into different colors. Do you start with looking at fonts? Do you start playing with shapes? Especially on a typographic based logo, What's that process when the first time you look at a blank canvas and you are coming up with a new brand?
So in the case, so again, I'm a fairly geometric designer. I would say I really like to go back to the the roots of graphic design and just very simple shapes and how do letters and shapes interplay, I guess. And in the case of, in this case, I knew it was going to be the NoCo Prospectors. NoCo is simple, and it's got essentially 3 total characters that I'm messing with, and it's pretty easy to look at that right off the bat and go, well, I got a circle. Oh, and hey, there are some rectangles that can stem off of that, and the next thing you know, I've messed with that a little bit, and I've got an N and a C and a circle, and it all stemmed from that NoCo thing, and then I, for lack of a better term, ended up creating the font that spells out NoCo on their jerseys.
Yeah.
Then if you take the N and the C and you move them around a little bit, you got a cool hat logo, which again goes back to I like simplicity in the hat design, something you can see from a long way off, and that one was pretty simple, honestly. It came fairly quickly.
So there are 30 Major League Baseball teams.
Yep.
120 affiliated minor league baseball teams, countless independent professional teams or MLB partner leagues. And then at the collegiate summer level, I heard recently a stat that there are 80 collegiate summer level leagues.
Okay.
How do you, with all of those countless baseball teams out there, how do you avoid replicating something that already exists out there? Not by accident, right? Because if it happens by accident, it happens by accident. But surely, do you worry about, something is in the recesses of your mind and you're going to see it out there, after it goes to production?
Absolutely. So what I try to do is get what is in my head onto paper and develop it a little bit to where I feel like I'm close to something that I might want to expand on. And then that's kind of when I hit Google and I just start looking around for what I want to avoid is copying something overtly at the beginning. So I get whatever's out on the paper. Then I see, does this exist already in the world? And if it does, at that point I make a decision, is what I did cool enough or important enough to try and move forward with in a different enough way? And in this case, I didn't find a whole lot that matched what I had, so I just moved forward with it. And especially when you get to the whole lamp concept, that was another thing that I thought, certainly there are mining lamps out there, and I didn't run across too much.
What was the inspiration for that lantern?
So I started out with actually working with the idea that maybe the lamp would actually be on the hat. But as I worked through that and mocked up a bunch of images, I wouldn't say it looked goofy so much as it just didn't quite understand what it was. And so moving away from that image of having the lamp on the hat, and again, going back to my roots, I'm just very simplified, so how can I make the most simple lamp design I possibly can? And now there's a light in the middle of it. Oh, what if that light is round? Oh, hey, it could be a baseball. But, and things just kind of morphed that way. And the next thing you know, it was the other thing too was, as a standalone, I wanted something other than just the NC. Because all we had was NoCo and we had Prospectors, and that was text-based. And we had the NC, and that's text-based. Well, is there something else that I have that we could put on a sleeve or T-shirts and things like that? It would be apparent what it was, and it was a little more graphic and fun.
That's a good job by the pitcher not to throw that ball into center field.
Right.
That was a double play started by the pitcher there. And I just feel like that ball's going to go into center field every time I see a pitcher try to throw to second base. So
Yep.
He did a good job with that. Last question for you for this brand.
Sure.
Is it different? Would it be different for you designing for this level of baseball, collegiate summer level baseball, than if you were asked to design something, say, for AAA?
No, not for me, because baseball and design are two things that I'm so close to. Now obviously as a designer I have budget in mind, and I I don't get the world for a small project like this. So I suppose it's possible I spend more time given a bigger project.
Sure.
But honestly, I just love both things so much that when I get a project like this, I'm going to dive into it, and you're going to get something hopefully great that at least fits my vibe for what it ought to be. So no, I want these guys to look great and look professional, regardless of what level they're playing at.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Matt, this has been a ton of fun hanging out with you at the ballpark again. The Prospectors are wrapping up their season here pretty soon, so congratulations on a successful first season for the Prospectors, and congratulations again on you, Phoenix, hitting a home run on air here.
Thanks a lot. This is fun.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It is time for Studio Simon Stumpers. Dan, how have you been?
I have been fantastic as I waited patiently to return to this podcast episode. And I want to jump right into our Studio Simon Stumper today, which asks, which of these will you not find on a NoCo Prospectors on-field cap? Is it A, an NC lettermark, B, a prospector character, or C, a lantern?
You definitely will find the lantern.
Have you seen this team in person?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw them play the Foxes at Citi Field, like a half a mile away from my house. I can just stroll on up there, and in fact, the interview that we just came out of with Matt West was conducted on field. Not on the field. They don't like that. They give me a lot of access to this team, but they don't let me actually like on the field in the middle of a game to do interviews. As much fun as that would be.
You mentioned that both the Foxes and the Prospectors play there in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Do they both, is their home field the same field?
Yes, they both play at City Park.
Okay. Is there a merchandise stand, or what kind of facility is that? Do they have food? Do they have merchandise?
That's a good question, Dan. It is a City Park, chain link fence around the stadium. There are bleacher seats there. Usually get a few hundred people at one of those games. The championship game between the Foxes and the Western Nebraska Pioneers had like a contingent of Pioneers fans who were being real loud right up until the eighth inning when the wheels came off for their team and the Foxes came storming back and won the game. So it can be a fun atmosphere, and you can get like 400, 500 people there at one of those games. But if you don't want to pay the very minimal fee to attend a game, you can like bring some, soccer parent chairs, like the folding chairs, and set them out in the outfield. When we have had foster dogs in the past and we don't want to sit in the bleachers, we'll do that. We'll just bring like a blanket and a couple of chairs and a, cooler with some sandwiches and drinks in it, and we'll sit out in the outfield for free. So the facilities, they've got like a little pop-up stand where they're selling gear, mostly for the Foxes. The Foxes are sort of the signature team for this league, or at least for this ownership group. They sell some of their other team stuff, like you can get a Boulder 64s t-shirt, you can get a Front Range Baseball League t-shirt, and yeah, they do have like a little bit of NoCo Prospector stuff. I imagine they're going to have more as that, as they sort of flesh out the presence of this team. But both the 64s were a rebranding of the existing Boulder Collegians who had been around since 1964, whereas the Prospectors are sort of a new team that this ownership group conjured into existence. But in terms of the facilities at City Park, they always have a food truck. Steamy Wieners, I think, is the food truck that they have there that does like brats and dogs and fries and stuff. And then there's a local ice cream place here in Fort Collins called The Walrus. And they have a food truck that they bring there. And they actually this year and last year had helmets. They had ice cream helmets with the Foxes logo on them. So, for a municipal park with metal bleachers, they do a real good job. They've got a mascot. They've got they've got a really good on-field MC. And of course, Ranger Amy is a regular national anthem singer there. So that's the experience at a Prospectors or Foxes game here in Fort Collins.
I asked that question because having gone to several games with you over the past 3 years, one of the first things, if not the first thing you do when you get to a stadium is you go straight towards the team store and check out merchandise. And so I was trying to picture if answering this question might have been easier for you if they had a team store and you perused the merchandise. So.
Right. So part of the conversation that we had with Matt, we talked a lot about how there was not, that the identities that Matt created for both the 64s and the Prospectors were largely typographic in nature and not character based. And so I'm going to say that I don't think there is a Prospector character on the hat.
And you are correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, in a business that, as we've mentioned, summer collegiate league clubs, many of them use the minor league baseball model as far as their operations go. And you would think that would include character-based logos. So when there's character-based identities. So when there's not one, it actually kind of stands out. And that's the case here. So you are correct, sir.
Yeah, a large part of the conversation that Matt and I had was how he worked. And this is, if I were doing logos and such, the illustration is, not something that is within my my wheelhouse there. So I would be doing graphic elements type based logos as well. So I can relate to what Matt's doing with that. I don't have your magical ability to conjure simple but detailed illustrations, and that's why you're Dan Simon. Dan, thank you again. This is always fun, and this NoCo Prospectors team, I'm looking forward to seeing them again next year. The collegiate summer ball is the first level to stop play, and that's the first sort of warning sign of this baseball season's not going to be around forever, so enjoy it while you can. And here we are at the time of this recording. No more collegiate summer ball. We're about to start losing some of the minor leagues. And then before we know it, it's going to be baseball playoffs, Major League Baseball playoffs.
I'm looking forward to that. I don't never like when baseball season ends, but I do like what happens just before it ends, which are the playoffs. So looking forward to those. So thank you. I enjoyed this, and we'll do this again next week.
See you later, Dan.